His presence here today demonstrates the importance of standing together in the face of economic challenges that affect not only our city, but communities across Canada and the United States. As I won't have to describe to any of you, but I will, that Sault Ste. Marie has been a cornerstone of North America's steel industry. It is an industry built on open and fair trade between our two countries. Every day, workers cross the International Bridge, and in Windsor, auto workers cross the Ambassador Bridge and soon the Gordie Howe Bridge, built with Algoma steel, to move goods freely across our shared border, and businesses thrive on both sides of the international border because of the strong economic ties between Canada and the United States. But the threat of steel tariffs and automotive tariffs and broad-based tariffs puts all of that at risk. History has shown that tariffs do not strengthen economies, they weaken them. When measures similar to the proposed tariffs were imposed in 2018, studies found that it resulted in tens of thousands of job losses, increased production costs, and higher prices for consumers. It is important to recognize that this happened in both Canada and the United States in 2018 and 19. The steel tariffs that are being proposed now will hurt workers, businesses, and entire communities. The same will be true of any new tariffs on automobiles, lumber exports, energy exports, or broad-based Canadian tariffs on Canadian consumables. Today, we are sending, Mayor Dilkens and I and the Border Mayors Alliance, a clear and united message that this is not just a Sault Ste. Marie issue, it is a national and international issue. The impact of these tariffs will be felt across the industries that supply and employ Canadians, from automotive to aerospace to construction to everyday families who will see the rising costs that result from these tariffs. This is why the Border Mayors Alliance is so critical and important. By working together, we can advocate for fair trade policies that protect jobs, support local businesses, and strengthen the Canada-US relationship that has been integral to our two countries for 213 years. So I want to thank Mayor Dilkens for his leadership, and I appreciate the opportunity to join forces with him and other mayors to push back against these tariffs. Sault Ste. Marie is a city that understands resilience. We have faced challenges before, and we have overcome them by working together. We will continue to fight for our industries, our workers, and our community, and we will not stand alone, thanks to the Border Mayors Alliance, while doing so. Thank you. Mayor Dilkens?
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Mayor Shoemaker, for having me. It's my first time in the Soo, and it's really great to be here. Although in the middle of February, I'm traveling to the Soo. I'm going to come back in the summer and enjoy it even more when I come back. But it was great to have a tour of Algoma today, to talk to leadership there, to go to Tenaris and talk to leadership there. And clearly, I don't want to be too cheeky, but Soo is a city, of steel. And you have the resilience of steel as well. When I think of the comparisons to your city and my community, both real critical to Canada's national security, to Canada's GDP, to the roots of Ontario in terms of hardworking men and women who go to work and work hard every day to produce for their communities and for their economies. We have so much in common, and that is part of what brings us together as a Border Mayors Alliance, part of what brings us together as mayors. To be able to talk about this and advocate for a solution on the other end that doesn't involve the pain, as Mayor Shoemaker said, that would necessarily be involved if tariffs were actually to be applied on Canada and all Canadian goods. And so as of Inauguration Day, Canada was put on notice by US President Donald Trump that tariffs would be forthcoming, and those threats have been changing, as you know, from time to time, and the number changes and the goods that it applies to changes. The timing of the tariffs seems to change, but the threat of the tariff doesn't. And never before in our history have we ever heard a US president consider Canada to be the 51st state, and not only say it once, but double down, triple down, and is it fair to say quadruple down on that notion. And so there are a lot of moving parts here that are discomforting to Canadians, they're discomforting to people in Ontario, and certainly discomforting to residents in our community who work hard every day and just want some certainty of what the future looks like, and we want that certainty as well. So we know that the situation is ever evolving. It certainly demands immediate action to counteract the staggering and looming pressures that could face our economy, and that is why we have joined together 35 mayors across the country to form the Border Mayors Alliance. And we represent communities that are different, communities that have different inputs to the Canadian economy. But the one thing we all have in common is that we are border cities, we are border communities, and we know that the threat of a tariff means that we'll be hit first and we'll be hit the hardest. And so there is no daylight between any of us, all 35 from Surrey all the way to New Brunswick with many stops in between. We are united to want to work together and lend our voice into the national discourse that is happening to try and find a resolution to this very thorny issue. And so the goal is on a number of fronts. We want to move forward on a number of fronts and have an impact. Certainly working together is very, very important, but also being able to use and leverage the relationships that we have developed with mayors and leaders and business organizations on the other side of the border is important, because I think it's fair to say prime ministers talk to presidents, premiers talk to governors, and mayors talk to mayors. And so we have those relationships, and I'll tell you from the conversations that I've been having in my own community and certainly with mayors in the state of Michigan, they all unanimously understand what the impact of a tariff would have, not on my economy, but on their own, and that it would have a threatening impact on jobs in their own communities, in their own state. And so that is actually it's been very reassuring to hear mayors in Michigan talk to me about the understanding they have about the negative consequences of a tariff applied to Canadian goods. And so how do we amplify their voices? How do we help them join the chorus of Canadians and others who are saying, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe there's another pathway to find a resolve that allows us all to keep this one of the world's largest trading partnerships going for a long, long time without the friction that exists. And certainly we've heard conversations with respect to border security, and people in the Soo would certainly appreciate border security and know a lot about the border. And we've heard conversations about illegal drugs and fentanyl. And I would submit that we have a shared goal. We have a shared goal as mayors, we have a shared goal as two countries to wanting to find a resolution, protect our shared border, and make sure that we eradicate illegal drugs from the face of our communities. We see the effects throughout this entire country and across the entire continent. So how do we work together to solve those issues? But at the same time, we share the world's longest undefended border. This is the world's longest undefended border, which is a series of fortified gates and no fence. And that is something that we should celebrate, that we have this relationship that has gone on for such a long time, that we found pathways to work together, and I'm sure that this time will be no different. And so we're working very diligently in these uncertain times to deal with the threat of tariffs, trying to find a pathway with other political leaders, with other business leaders, with professional associations who have relationships on both sides of the border, because ultimately families will feel this impact, and the uncertainty caused by the threat of the tariff is discomforting to Canadians, discomforting to Canadian families who are evaluating their vacation plans, who are evaluating any major expenditures, wondering whether they should be squirreling away pennies for a rainy day and not knowing whether that rainy day will come. And so we're with you. We understand that. We understand the impact that this uncertainty is causing to business as well, who is largely parking their money. They're parking their capital, waiting for more certain times. And that's not good for any economy. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for the economy in the United States. And so I can tell you, learned a lot about Sault Ste. Marie since partnering with Mayor Shoemaker on the Border Mayors Alliance. She's been a strong advocate, a strong champion for the interests of the residents here, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and input that he provides representing residents in the Soo. I can tell you in the city of Windsor, we are home to the busiest commercial land border crossing between the United States and Canada. So the Ambassador Bridge carries about $390 million of goods back and forth each and every day. The Gordie Howe Bridge will open later this year and will quickly become the busiest commercial border crossing between our two countries. And that was Canada's largest infrastructure project. And so seeing that bridge come together, seeing the link being built on both sides and meeting in the middle, it really speaks to that relationship that I think we forged with the United States for a long, long time. And so we're going to keep working as border mayors. We want to make sure that we are crossing all T's, dotting all I's. We are not trying to, I keep using the term, we're not trying to zig while others are zagging. This isn't about acting independently. We want to be part and feed into the national conversation that is happening so that we are making sure that we are leveraging the relationships that we've developed. We're leveraging all that we can bring and the knowledge we have of our communities and the businesses in our communities to help our country, to help our premiers find a resolution that will get us to a better place at the end of the day. And so Sault Ste. Marie certainly is you have steel in your blood. You've been built on steel. And you're certainly a very proud community, and we're proud to have you as part of the Border Mayors Alliance. And I think that the steel that is created here certainly speaks to the relationship that we talked about with the United States that has survived the test of time. And I think we're going to find a better pathway. We will find a place that we can work together and forge a new relationship with the new U.S. administration. And I can just tell you, Mayor Shoemaker, that we stand with you. The City of Windsor stands behind you. The Border Mayors Alliance has your back. We're going to work very diligently together to help support one another to get through what is a very tumultuous time, but a very important time for the families and the businesses in our community. So thanks very much for having me here, and appreciate your ongoing support. Thank you very much.
Well, we are happy to take questions, and we can do them one-on-one. That's the preference of everybody here, so happy to do that. We'll make ourselves available. Thank you.